The old gun violence. I have a lot of different views on it. You know me, I'm annoying. I'm always kind of stuck in the middle. I agree with this, I agree with that. But when it comes to gun violence, I stick to my guns when, no pun intended, when it comes to freedom. Just like we were talking about abortion. You do whatever you want to do. I cannot tell you what to do, right? But you can't tell me, well, Damon, you're limited to 5 guns. Why? I can buy a car with 500 horsepower. I could buy a truck that could wipe out 30 people like the guy did in France. But you're going to tell me I can't buy guns?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, arguably, getting a big semi truck, and not to give anybody any ideas, but arguably getting a big semi truck and running it in through a protesters crowd, you're going to drop a lot of people.
that guy did it 2 years ago. The crazy dude with dreads, he walked into some guy's house and asked him to use his phone, and then he ran a van. I think there was like a marathon or something going on, and he ran it through a bunch of white people and said they were the devil or some shit.
Yeah. Another example was when the whole the George Floyd protests were going around in all the cities. People were trying to get through. They start smashing people's cars. Those guys are like, okay, you're smashing my car.
Yeah.
This is hostile territory. I'm going to protect myself.
Yeah.
Popped it in a drive, and there's many videos of people getting ran over with that.
Yeah. So to me, it's all about mental health. I know people are tired of hearing that on the news, but when it comes to mental health, if I'm a crazy person and you put a hammer, a gun, a banana, and a knife in front of me, and I'm psycho, and I want to kill you because you messed with me in high school or whatever it was. Okay, we have a magic wand. We can make all the guns go away tomorrow. We confiscate all the guns. Okay, guns gone. Am I still crazy, or am I going to come at you with a knife now?
You're coming at me with a knife.
Okay, well, knife stabbings go up 30%, Alex. Well, now we're all afraid of knives. No knives over 6 inches unless you have a license to buy a kitchen knife from Bed Bath & Beyond from now on because they've skyrocketed. I'm going to go for the hammer.
Yeah, let's pause on that. I'm actually, and this is because of my creative imagination, I'm actually more terrified of knives, serial killers with knives. Because if you're in a crowd with people, if a gun goes off, you know it went off. If you're in a crowd of people and somebody who knows where your liver is, your kidney, your spleen, and they just get you real quick and they just turn around and walk off, you're not going to know who did it. You're going to die. And on that person's way out, they can drop 4, 5, 6, 7 people.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to know who this person was. And that person could just walk off.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly what happened in France, right? They have stabbing sprees on the trains. A couple of years ago, a bunch of American kids from some college, some dude was going crazy on a train trying to stab, and they took him out. A bunch of wrestlers or something.
Not the right crowd, dude.
Yeah. These American kids were like, hell no. Took his ass out.
Okay, so let's get into some statistics. I know you got them pulled up. Let's preface this, right? So let's play out this scenario in America that we all turn in our guns. Every gun that's registered, billion of them or something like that?
A billion of them.
They
don't even know how many guns there are because they're just going by registered guns. They don't even really know.
You're probably going to need to, quadruple that number?
Yeah. If
you include all the gangs and everything that's not registered?
Yeah, because, you could buy lowers, uppers, kits. You can build your own guns, and that's what they're trying to ban in California right now because technically they can't make it illegal because you can consider it a paperweight. But once it's milled out, you don't have to register that gun. You know how many illegal guns are floating around people's houses?
I have absolutely no idea. Most
come
of us
on.
Don't.
So my answer is it's mental health before we get into this. And people are crazy, they're crazy. I'll tell you my answer.
I agree. Anything can be used as a weapon. You ever seen John Wick? A fucking pencil.
Hell yeah. No number 2s unless you register your number 2 pencil.
Yeah, register your number 2 pencil.
People are crazy, man.
So before we get into the statistics, let's play it out. In America, all registered weapons, mandatory, turned in. So now most of the nation is gunless.
Yeah, we have a magic wand. Boom, we change it today.
It's all done.
And by July, everyone's turned in their guns, and we'll go from there.
All the above. So what do you got on those scenarios?
So remember when, and here's my other point, when you talk about taking guns away, and let me say this before we even go any further. The killings, the shootings, they show the children. It's horrifying.
It's terrible.
I can't even imagine. And that's why I live in a county where 1 out of 8 people have a CCW. Mm-hmm. But so that's all terrible, right? I think on average, they're saying the last couple of years, there's over 200 mass shootings a year. My question is that including drive-bys and criminal activity or no? Okay.
I don't think they are.
No. Because if you knew what was going on in Chicago, last July, 4th of July, like 26 people got slaughtered. A bunch of kids got shot in the front yard. But they don't talk about that.
No, they don't.
So that's all terrible news. I can't even imagine. But I could also turn around and say 1,200 kids drown in pools every year.
Should we empty everybody's pools?
If you put a microscope over something, anything can look big. So that's where the news plays on your emotions. And I think there is some type of agenda to take our guns because there's been a lot of overstep of the government the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. I mean,
millions would agree.
I mean, they literally took their guns in Australia. I mean, if you have that pulled up still. So to me, anything that you put a microscope over can look very big. I've learned this over the years. There's been a lot of scares with different things, right? Can you imagine if the news 3 times a day showed a different kid drowning in a pool for 1 year? 1,200, 365 days a year. Let's just say we showed it twice, once in the evening, once in the morning, update, emergency, another kid in California drowns and the video camera shows the kid's feet, them giving him CPR. People start freaking out.
Yes.
Within a year, within the end of that year of showing 1,200 drownings to a year, dude, people would freak out. I mean, it would get to the point where you would go to someone's house in a year from now and be like,
judge them.
You
would judge them and be like, your pool is still
full?
Full?
You'd be like, dude, why haven't you cemented that thing up? You still have a pool? Damon, do you not know? Do you not watch the news? These are not safe anymore. Just go to the YMCA. The 4-foot pools, they're safe. Damon, this is not. You would judge me. Mm-hmm. And every time you went to someone's house with a pool, dude, you still have a pool? My wife made me cover ours with dirt. We don't have a pool anymore.
Do you know what that's called?
What?
Propaganda.
Hoo-hoo! You said it, not me. You conspiracy theorist. Theoritor.
Well, what is propaganda? Propaganda is the use of information, news, and I would say a weaponized manner to influence, brainwash, or indoctrinate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you repeatedly beat somebody over the head with it, and there's also this term called the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you tell somebody they are something long enough, and if it's not just one person or 2 or 3, or society says it, you will believe it.
Yeah.
It's like parents, you're worthless, you're not good, you're terrible, you're not a good artist.
Yeah.
If you say that to a kid who has the talent to be great, they will eventually believe that self-fulfilling prophecy and their dreams will be decimated. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with the news.
They get people to admit shit like that with murders, don't they?
They get people to...
Isn't that like illegal now? Like they get people to admit that they murdered someone that they didn't just by repeatedly, I know you did it, you piece of shit, and they're hungry and they're in this little room and they're freaking out. They're like, okay, I did it.
Yep. There's many stories on that. Yeah. Many stories on that.
Same thing. So I always tell people, think about it. If I was to concentrate on DUI highway deaths, right? There's like 30,000 a year just in California. Mm-hmm. If the news crew was out there every day, again, I'm not saying that these deaths, these shootings are not sad as hell, but if I was to focus on DUI highway deaths, I showed it 3 times a day, and I showed a little snippet of the CHP pulling the kids out of the car, put the fire out, the family's on flame. Like, dude, you'd be freaked out. And within a year, Congress or Newsom or someone would start saying, you know what, it's time to start building more trains around the city. We're going to, all the freeways are going to be shut down and they're just going to be bullet trains everywhere taking you to work. And everyone would be like, yeah, people can't drive and this is getting scary. Mm-hmm. They would scare the shit out of you.
Yeah. So
you wouldn't want to drive on the freeway.
No. So to touch on that and to kind of flip it towards the agenda, right? Mm-hmm. So they're pushing everything. Like the main thing in the news right now is what? Gun control.
Gun violence.
A lot of gun violence. Shooting here, shooting there, shooting here, shooting here. And also Americans, that's also us because we're allowing that to feed us.
Yep.
We keep giving that our attention. But the bigger Like, okay, so if we focused on human sex trafficking, which is a bigger issue.
How many kids are being trafficked right now?
Millions, millions.
Millions of kids being trafficked right now.
So people are like, yes, when you send your kid to school, you want your kid, you want the knowledge and the security to know that your kid is going to be safe at that institution. You don't have to worry about, oh my God, is my kid going to get shot today?
Yeah.
Well, the larger statistic is your child has a better chance of being kidnapped and sex trafficked.
Yeah.
So why isn't the media covering that?
That's what I'm saying. And do you know if the media showed you, oh, there's over 500,000 kids that go missing in America every year. Oh, there's on average that we know of, just from FBI statistics, over 1 million kids are being trafficked right now. 8-year-olds are being raped by men somewhere in a building, somewhere in a, you know what I mean? 85,000 kids have gone missing on the border. They've been misplaced. We paid $38 million last year or this year or something to keep hotels for the immigrants coming in. And I'm like, oh, that's nice, because they're out there, you don't want them to be cold and you want to give them food. But there's bad guys that are going to go, I know there's some women in this room. We're going to go fucking steal them. You have to think about that shit.
Yep.
And people go, I don't want to think about that. Well, you should, because that's someone's kid.
Yeah. And if we're talking about kids and gun control,
Yeah.
well, you got the stats.
Yeah.
What happens if they take all of our guns? Well, what happens in societies where they've taken their guns?
Well, let me hold on really quick. I want to touch on this. There was a guy.
God, you did it again.
I have it right. I'm sorry. I don't want to forget. I think it was in France. There was a guy in France. Let's see here. Anyway, I can't. It happened in like 2017 or 2016. A Muslim guy took a truck, like a commercial truck, plowed and injured 400 people and killed like 36 with a truck.
Jesus.
If he had a gun in front of him, he probably would have taken the gun and been like, this is easier. But the gun was gone. He's still crazy. Whether the gun's registered.
Or he had a belief.
He had a belief. Something in him, he was going to get the job done. Whether he started stabbing people in a train station, whatever it is. I just don't understand when people say we take all the guns away. Make maybe stricter background checks, but the FBI did my background check and it took 10 days to get the gun. If I go crazy next year or my wife cheats on me or this guy pisses and I do something crazy, that doesn't really, I think mental health is the main issue here.
Absolutely.
And I'm
agree.
sticking to it. And I don't think taking everyone's guns is going to do anything. It's not bringing anyone back. It's not doing anything. It's just making people more unsafe. So real quick, let me show you something real quick. I found this the other day because I went down a little rabbit hole on genocide, right? Let me show my screen here. So I went down a little rabbit hole on genocide the other day. And when you look at statistics,
which are facts.
These are facts. In 1911, Turkey established strict gun control. From 1915 to 1917, 4 years later, 1.5 million Christian Armenians were rounded up and exterminated.
That's a heavy word, exterminated.
Exterminated, like roaches. I don't even know how they did it.
But who? Do we know who rounded them up?
Didn't happen by accident.
1.5
The Armenians
million,
as British traveler, FHB Lynch wrote. I don't know. I don't think it goes into all detail.
Well,
in 1938, Germany established gun control laws. By 1939 to 1945, what happened, Alex?
Well, for those of you that weren't around, and many of us listening to this podcast were not, you had the genocide of the Jews.
Yeah. 13 million Jews were rounded up and exterminated.
So because I had that
1 year after gun control.
Right. So when we talk about rounded up, because my question was who rounded them up? Anytime you have a large population of people rounded up like that, there's only one entity that can do that.
Yeah.
That is going to be the government.
Yeah. And do you know how they found everyone's guns in Germany? They're the register.
Well, they were registered.
They were
They also
registered.
had people telling on you too.
telling on you. What happened? What happened this year or just last year in California? You could earn a little extra cash by telling on people.
If they were vaccinated or not.
Or if they weren't wearing their mask, or if they weren't supposed to have a gathering. California was paying people to turn on each other.
Which definitely happened.
Scary shit, dude. So another one here. Let's go to 1964. Guatemala established gun control. From 1981 to 1984, 100,000 Mayan Indians were rounded up and exterminated. I'll keep going. 1970, Uganda established gun control. 1971 to 79, almost 10 years, 300,000 Christians were rounded up and exterminated.
And that's in Uganda?
That one's, Uganda. Dude,
what the hell?
1 year later,
and that's
it's almost like they had a plan.
That's not that long ago. Your parents, our parents.
It's in the 80s.
They were alive.
Dude, there were rock concerts going on in the 80s. Like, 300,000 Christians were being exterminated while people were just hanging out in America. No idea.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it's like when people say, when they go, you sound like a conspirator, there's no agenda. History might not repeat itself, but it can sure as fuck rhyme. Dude, I'm just saying these numbers, I mean, you know, the biggest one is people always look at the Jewish people. Oh, you know, they took gun control, registration, right? Mm-hmm. But if in Germany, if they showed you, well, you know, 100 kids a year are getting shot at schools or by accident or farmers are fighting, they'd be like, yeah, we should take the guns. A year later, 13 million of you are gone. History scares the shit out of me. And I don't feel safe giving my guns back to a government who we all know oversteps its boundaries sometimes.
Sometimes.
People say, yeah, the government shouldn't do this. And, you know, they have too much control, but you want to give your guns back to them.
Mm-hmm. And let's kind of let's throw a little more fuel on the fire, right?
Let's go.
So
everyone already hates us. Let's go.
So if they mandate guns, well, what did they mandate? They mandated vaccines. Mm-hmm. Pfizer has to pay out a lawsuit. Mm-hmm. I don't remember exactly how much it is, but I think it's like 100 or like 94 billion.
And Pfizer's already had the biggest lawsuit in history in the past.
Yes.
They are known, they have a record-breaking lawsuit. They paid out millions and millions. Billions.
No, I think they're in multi-billions.
Yeah.
In lawsuits that they've had to pay out.
You don't trust Pfizer? Why? Because they've had the record-breaking fucking lawsuits in history.
Let me see if I can pull that up. Yeah. What else you got on the list while I do this?
So gun control. So those are just a few. Even look at Mexico, right? 1971 or 70, whatever it is. Someone's going to fact check it. Same thing, strict gun control. They took the guns. You know, you couldn't buy, only the military could have guns. When did the crimes start to skyrocket in Mexico? When did cartel groups really start to grow? When did all the statistics start to blow up and the government started becoming corrupt?
I'm going to guess when they took their guns.
Within 5 or 6 years.
Within 5 or 6 years.
Cartels became established. The government, you know, they were paying people off. They were taking over small counties and small cities, using their farmland to grow whatever they wanted, rape and pillage. I mean, dude, come on. Yep. You take the guns from people and they can't defend themselves. Is the army going to show up in 5 minutes and protect us?
No.
Just saying.
So also check this out. Actually, to touch on that cartel right now, they just captured... What main guy was his name? The federales captured Chapo.
Chapo, yeah. Now they're going after his son, right?
Well, yeah. Well, they captured his son, but the immediate response by the cartel was they took a whole town hostage, and were like, "Release him now, or we're going to destroy this town." They had trucks on fire that they were ramming in the buildings. Well, obviously, you have this town that doesn't have guns. There's no little militia to protect themselves. So now you have the cartel that can take a whole town hostage for the release of one man. And then they released him. But I think they captured him again. And then it's just like causing a whole bunch of... I don't know all the facts on everything. I wasn't really paying attention. But I do know that they took a whole town hostage.
No, that's right. They did.
An unarmed town.
Yeah. And actually, there's actually another article where the vigilantes, they took on a fight with the cartel.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so you just got regular dudes. Here, I'm going to put it up. Oh, the picture sucks. So you got regular people in their town, and they all came together, and they put their trucks in a line, and they got ready, and they had a fight out. They had a shootout with the cartel.
You know that's basically like...
That's some Tombstone shit, bro.
It is, but you know you're in war with the cartel forever after that. Like, they're not going to forget. They're like, okay, we got our eye on you now.
I mean, if I was the leader of that cartel, though, I'd been like, what happened? They killed. I'd been like, you know what? That's pretty ballsy. Leave them alone. All right. I see you guys. We'll let you guys have your town.
You know,
all
let's
right.
be optimistic and let's say that happened. Okay, pull up my screen. Pull up my screen. So check this out. This is Wednesday, September 2nd, 2009. The Department of Justice, Office of Public Affairs, Justice Department announces largest healthcare fraud settlement in its history. Pfizer to pay $2.3 billion for fraudulent marketing. That's in 2009. 11 years later, they're one of the biggest in supplying the world with an experimental vaccine.
Fuck. So you got this huge lawsuit. Wow. Okay.
That's not including the one over the COVID. I think they have a COVID one too. See if I can find that Pfizer lawsuit vaccine.
Oh, here it is. 2016, Mohammed drove a 19-ton cargo truck through a crowd and killed 86 people and injured 400 others in France. All right. One more time for everyone listening, because we're not going to ban assault trucks. In 2016, a guy named Mohammed drove a 19-ton cargo truck through a crowd and killed 86 people in one shot and injured 400 others in France. Do we start calling those assault trucks?
That's exactly what it is.
Crazy is crazy. That's all I'm saying.
Crazy is crazy.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to do is I want to flip this back to this woman named Kitty Worthman.
Kitty
Worthman. She actually was in Austria when Hitler rose to power in Germany. Mm-hmm. And she talks in this documentary. Is my screen up?
Yep.
Okay. So this gal right here, she was actually, I think she said she was, I want to say 14 or 17. And she was in high school in Austria. And so how Hitler, she talks about how Hitler basically took over Austria without firing a single gun.
Oh,
because back then they didn't really have news. They weren't really getting really...
Turn your mic a little bit more towards your mouth.
Yeah. They weren't getting like proper news. All they were hearing was Hitler was an amazing guy. He wanted to take Austria into the future. So Austria basically voted him in.
Yeah.
Within the first, I think, few months or weeks, obviously Germany is like, okay, everybody give up your guns. And her mother, if I remember correctly, saw what was happening. And her mother sent her to school, finish high school in another country. She came back 2 years later after Germany had basically impregnated Austria with their beliefs and their doctrination.
Wow.
Even her friends that she was friends with 2 years ago were completely radicalized.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to see if I can play this real quick. I don't know if this is like the best thing, but what she says right here is pretty powerful.
Your ammo. A gun is no good if you don't have any ammo. Dictatorship did not happen overnight. It took 5 years, from 1938 until 1943, we had a full-blown dictatorship. Had we kept our guns, we would have fought a bloody battle to the last men and women to keep our freedom. But we had no guns. A classic example is, in Switzerland, it is law that everybody has to have a gun.
Mandatory.
Hitler took every country in Europe except Switzerland. And Switzerland did not have a war.
So the only people with guns they didn't take.
600 years.
Wow.
Hitler never tackled Switzerland. So keep your guns. Keep your guns.
Okay, so that's Kitty Worthman. This is on YouTube. You can find a lot of
What's her
content.
name?
Kitty Worthman.
Okay.
This one is World War II survivor warns of socialism and gun control. Must watch. And I completely forgot that. I mean, I don't know the whole facts on, the World War II, the boundaries and the war and, maybe, political ties that Switzerland made deals with Germany and supplied him with other things to, hey, stay out of our country. We'll give you this, maybe buying them out because Switzerland they got a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
They got a lot of money in Switzerland, right? But this is coming from somebody who's actually was in World War II and she survived all the way up. And I mean, this was 6 years ago. This wasn't long ago.
God.
Now, what she said something in there was we went from a people's country to a full-blown dictatorship in 5 years. A lot of the statistics you just read off right there, Damon, from the time they took their guns to the next year to 5 years is when all those changes happened.
Yeah. And I'm sure those people were like, there's no agenda. You guys just turn your guns in. There's too much violence. 1 year later, 300,000 people are dead.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure you might agree with me. Do I believe that, if all Americans turned in their guns this year, in the next 5 years, a population of people is going to get round up and murdered in the millions? I would like to believe no. But
13 million Jews thought no too.
But exactly, none of them knew that was going to happen.
They were like, "You guys are going to round us up? We just gave you can we get our guns back?" They're like, "Nah."
And once you give them up, you're not getting them back.
Yeah. Scary, dude. And like I said, history might not repeat itself, but it can fucking rhyme. And if you look at all these right down the road, Guatemala, parts of Africa, the Armenian genocide, they took their guns and within 1 to 5 years, millions of people were slaughtered, exterminated.
And let's add one more statistic.
That sounds crazy. It's already happened.
But it happened. But let's add one more statistic on that. What happened to the Native Americans?
They were taken out.
Who had more firepower?
Americans.
Well,
the white man.
Technically, Native Americans are Americans.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So we can't say Americans. The Europeans.
White man.
Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
It was Europeans that came over and committed that genocide. So when we look at Native Americans.
Well, let's be fair, too. I read a book. If the Indians would have came together, because they slaughtered each other, too.
Well, what does that tell you?
They killed the shit out of each other.
That's human nature. They enslaved each other.
They enslaved each other. And if they would have worked, I think it's called Blood Moon or Summer Moon. Basically, if they would have came together from reading from what I saw in the book, they could have outnumbered Europeans.
Oh, they did.
And been like, this is our land. You guys can go to court. You can fight over it. This is ours. And we got a lot of people behind me.
And we know the land.
They killed each other.
We know how to attack. It would have been guerrilla warfare. And that's exactly how Hitler took over Europe. You had a whole bunch of countries that were divided.
Yeah.
They had superior firepower, superior aggressive techniques. They had the Blitzkrieg, which I'm not a fan of Hitler, Germany. I'm not a fan of, what they did. But from a militaristic standpoint, I do respect, that is a great technique.
He was ready.
They came ready to play. But they divide and conquer. And that has always been the name of the game.
And like that lady said, the only people they didn't take over had what?
Guns.
Couldn't take them. They got guns.
So
you want this smoke?
Anytime there is an opposing force that has superior power, and they want to dominate, you divide and conquer, or disarm, divide and conquer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's the exact order, but those are the three attributes. If you could do that, you could take out anybody.
Yeah.
Which has been happening forever. This isn't new. This has been happening forever.
Take the guns away. Here's a weird example.
I'm ready.
Who were the first people to stop the Mongols in their tracks?
Oh, boy. Tell me.
The Mongols ran through Genghis Khan. Literally, his DNA is in half the population.
Yeah, he's...
In certain parts of China and all these other countries, right?
Mongolia?
Because Mongolia, China, dude, his DNA is everywhere.
Actually, I think his dad beat him. I think there's a statistic where Genghis Khan, did his thing, but it's either Genghis Kublai or Genghis's dad.
Yeah.
It's one of the three of them that actually had the most.
People today have their DNA of Genghis Khan because he raped so many women in so many towns. Like, so who were the first people? Take the guns away, right? We have a magic wand. Boom, guns are gone. Genghis Khan, the Mongols.
Technically, in his way, take the arrows away and swords.
Yeah.
So basically, take the weapon away.
Yeah. So during the Mongols' time, Genghis Khan's running through towns, burning, like they said he literally had like a mountain of skulls at one point. Yeah. And you know, and they would actually put bodies on like these sling machines and throw them into towns. Like, bro, he was a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, that's how you demoralize people.
Yeah. So Genghis Khan is running through all these people. No one can stop him. And then who stops him? Who were the first people?
Was it the Chinese with gunpowder?
Japanese.
With gunpowder.
Gunpowder wasn't around yet, or I don't know if it was around yet.
Okay.
The Japanese. And guess what men?
Samurai?
Samurais. And they were like, we got weapons. Oh, and we're fucking trained.
And we're not afraid to use them.
And you're not hurting men, women, children. We have an establishment here. And guess what? We got the sharpest swords in the world. And we got dudes with badass arrows. And we've got these sick ass recurves. Fuck you and your horses. You're not taking shit. And basically, literally, the Mongols kind of went around Japan and were like, well, we'll attack everyone else. We'll come back for you later. Nah, didn't work. Because bunch of dudes, and in Japan, my brother's half Japanese, he was telling me all this stuff. Like, there's actually different swords for different situations.
Right.
You have your house sword, which is like, you kind of just walk around with it. It's a little bit shorter. People in the town, you're just walking around with it like cowboys with guns. You just walk around. It's like a tool, right? And then you have your war sword. I don't know what it's called, but you have different swords for different things. So when shit goes down, you go home. You know, kids are hiding. The wife says, here's your sword. Hurry up and go. Get to the top of the hill. And all the men came together and they were standing like, dude, could you imagine being a Mongol and like, oh man, we got this shit. We're going to just take the next town. We're going to eat. We're going to rape. We're going to pillage. We're going to burn this shit down. And we're on to the next town. And then you get up to the hill and you're introduced to the samurai. And they're full geared out. And they've got their helmets. And they've got their swords. You know what I mean? Like, bro, you'd be like, oh shit, these guys aren't playing around. I mean, that would be some intimidating shit.
So there's a YouTube video right here because I'm trying to find this, and you know, we're trying to cross-reference this.
The Mongol invasions of Japan, which took place in 1274 and 1281 CE, were major military efforts by Kublai Khan to conquer the Japanese archipelago. The Japanese, especially the samurai warriors, brilliantly fought and successfully defended their shores against the Mongols. But it was also typhoon storms and kamikaze, or divine winds, that sank and drowned most of their enemy ships and men, hence protecting Japan from foreign conquest.
So that's some
This
help.
video presents the Mongol invasion of Japan, how the battle became such a glorious episode in Japanese culture.
Okay. If you want some more information on that, go ahead and watch it. But obviously they had some help, maybe some divine help, but nonetheless, these guys were armed. They were, and Japan
Sharpest swords in the
Japan
world.
obviously had their clans. They all had feuds.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they're like, okay, everybody, ceasefire.
Yeah.
Oh, we could kill each other, but these guys can't kill us.
Yeah.
Once again, united front. I'm assuming. I definitely want to check this out. I'm glad you brought that up. I need to.
I mean, I know that Mongols were everywhere, and there were a lot of people that stopped them. It says here, Mongol invasions and conquest. There was 1254 to 1255. Daniel of Galicia revolted against the Mongols. But I just remember specifically reading a story about the Mongols when they came up against the Japanese, and the Japanese fucked them up, and they basically left and were like, we're going to go over here.
You guys keep the island. We'll take the main
They got
land.
back on their horses and were like, we'll come get you guys later. And they got on their, they left.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. So let's, earlier in the episode, you brought up what the media shows you we tend to focus on, and anything under a microscope looks bigger than what it is.
Yeah.
Right? So let's go ahead and switch it to an estimation on how many lives are saved by guns a year.
Yeah. So if you look around, and
I have it up on my screen.
okay, hold on, let me move it over to you. Yeah. So the media, they really concentrate on how many people lose their lives every year due to guns. They don't tell you how many people use guns in defense to preserve life. Mm-hmm. That's what they don't show you.
It's right here, fact check. And this is just brief research. This is just like a quick Google search. So if anybody has anything other,
I have a data consensus thing pulled up.
perfect. Please go in the comments and post some findings that you have. But it says, during a recent hearing, Republican Representative Andy Biggs of Arizona said the Department of Justice under Democratic administrations have done their studies and conservatively estimate that guns are used to save 1.5 million times per year. Per year to save lives.
Wow. So 1.5 million people a year defend themselves with a gun.
Yeah, and this just says June 28th. I don't know if this is last year. I don't know if this is 2019. But it does show that a lot of people are saving lives.
Yeah, so I'm on the datavisualization.heritage.org, so it's not a left or right thing. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, almost every major study on defensive gun use has found that Americans use their firearms defensively between 500 and 3 million times per year. Okay, so a couple hundred shootings a year, or we take all the guns and 500,000 people are just murdered. But I don't know what the defense is, argument with a neighbor, gangs, I don't know.
Somebody
single
coming
mom
at you with a knife.
single mom walking home and dude follows her and she's like, and I read another study that said 86% of the gun defense, the gun's not even fired. So just pulling your gun on somebody and saying back up, that's gun defense. So when you call the cops, I'm guessing these statistics, they take the records, they take the statements, and they gather it all. Because I read another one that said, 86% of the guns aren't even fired.
Yep.
There was a dude in Sanger a couple years ago. There was a guy in Sanger. I think he's a nurse or a doctor. I had it on my phone. And some crazy dude started banging on his door, kicking his door, and then the dude started shooting through his window. He had a stolen gun. That's another thing they never bring up is the guns are stolen. It's not like just good people are doing all this shit. He starts firing. The dude runs into his room, starts firing back. The dude was so crazy, he stood like on the corner of his driveway, shooting at this dude's door, and the doctor was shooting back until the dude took off running. The cops found him later.
Oh, I saw that. They had the tree in between them?
Yeah.
Yep.
And literally, they're just sitting there shooting at each other because this guy was out of his mind. But the homeowner had a gun because, like he said, he could have shot, he was almost through the door. Could you imagine if that dude didn't have a gun and the cops didn't come for another 15 minutes? Yeah. So
some bad stuff would have happened.
I'm just not for taking guns. The deaths, the shootings, the mall shootings, they're horrible. But if I showed you a drowning of a kid every day, we'd be terrified of pools too. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing I'm trying to get across to people, is I don't believe in, pull up something. Let me just ask you, Alex, where are the highest crime rates in America?
Democratic cities.
So Democratic cities have the highest crime rates. Who has the strictest gun control in America?
Republican states?
No, the strictest gun control.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
So Democratic cities like Chicago, New York, California, Detroit, they have their Democratic, very progressive cities, and they have the strictest gun laws. But they also have the highest crime rates with guns. Last time I checked, I'm pretty sure anything over 4 people is
I think anything over 4 people is a mass shooting.
Is a mass shooting. Do you know how many drive-bys there were just last year in Chicago that the news did not pick up on?
Dozens.
Black and Mexican neighborhoods, gang violence, kids were shot in the front yard by accident. During 4th of July, like 36 people were killed last year in Chicago and these other cities. Strictest gun laws. Is it really working?
If you want to see,
Because bad people still have guns.
yeah, if you want to see in a movie an emotional impact of what a drive-by looks like, go watch the Keanu Reeves movie Hardball.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a young, I don't remember his name's like Baby G in there or something like that.
Yeah, I get it. I've been in one.
Yeah. Shit, I'm sorry.
We were hanging out I was in the backyard, but the front of the house got shot. Anyway,
But
continue.
there's like a drive-by or there's like a gang shootout in front of these two kids, and this kid loses his little brother because he gets shot in the crossfire.
Yeah.
Majorly emotional. Now, real quick.
The news won't pick that up.
Nope.
Which seems racist to me.
Now, go ahead and shoot the screen over to me. Check this out. This is an example.
Oh, shit. What's up, lady?
This is an example of a concealed and carry. This mother right here is about to take this guy out. I don't know the contents.
I've seen
I don't know
this.
what it is, but it says hero mom saves Mother's Day by shooting armed robber outside school in New York Post. So this guy in New York,
He fucked up.
he comes up outside. These are kids right here. Obviously, this guy has got some things going on. He's he's attacking moms and kids.
He fucked with the wrong one, dude.
I'm sorry to say this. Real men don't do this shit.
Yep.
So he's got something going on. But let's see what happens. And this is graphic, so censor, just to let you know, you're about to see something. This mom right here.
He's trying to. Oh! Oh, she's like, keep your gun on him. There you go.
And then she does the right thing, kicks
Yeah.
the gun away.
Oh, there you go, John Wick. Oh, she's like, shut the fuck up.
That's wife material right there.
She's like, shut the fuck up.
That's a wife. Look how she did it so sly too. Look, she was holding it and waiting for the right moment. So it's out right here. And she waited for a moment. And how many lives did she potentially just save right there?
Bro. Look at, she's talking shit to him right there. She's like, say another fucking word. She had that gun.
And this is the New York Post that posted this.
Oh my God. Did you see at the end? You could tell she's talking shit to him. She's got her gun in his face. She's like, say
sorry.
another
Hey,
word.
my bad. So New York. Okay, apologies. Let's correct some facts right now. This is in Brazil.
Nice. Super strict.
And okay, so she was an off-duty cop. But
Yep.
the
Makes
thing
sense
is-
because you can't have guns in Brazil.
But that makes perfect sense. So, but hey, that's still concealed and carry. Obviously, she was an off-duty cop. She knew what to do. She knew how to handle a situation. But that's a mom.
Imagine if you had more trained people like that.
Imagine if you have more trained people like that.
So if all these criminals knew that 20% of the population had a CCW and they were trained, you think they think twice.
Yeah. Now we use this. I know you love this example, so I have to bring it back up.
Oh God.
Remember when somebody asked us like, "Why aren't there mass murderers at Hogwarts?"
Oh my God. Dude, tell me that one. That one is so.
How come there were no mass murders at Hogwarts? Because everybody's got a fucking wand.
Dude, that's the best thing I've ever heard. And I never even thought about it like that.
Every single person
Everyone's got a
is
wand.
armed.
Everyone's armed to the teeth with a wand. Teachers, students. So when the big ass troll comes in, everyone's just like.
Yeah, man. So it's like, okay, I'm going to do this, but now I know it's me or a buddy. And as soon as we try to take out the first person, well, now there's 30 people in here that are going to fuck us up.
Hermione's gonna fuck me up from the back.
She's not even
Ron's
gonna
about
look.
to get me from the
Hermione's
stairs.
not even looking. She's like, try this,
Yeah.
bitch.
Everyone's got a
You're
wand,
blasted through the window and you fall, 1,000 feet to your death.
which makes sense because where was in Harry Potter movies? Where did they always try to attack you? When you're alone or out in the woods and you're not with your boys? Because if you try to attack Harry Potter in the school, bro, everyone's wanded up.
Everyone's wanded.
Everyone's wanded up, bro. No one's pulling no shit. Oh my God, that is such a good reference.
Oh, man.
Damn, that's funny. But
All right. I think we beat this one to hell pretty good.
yeah, so to wrap it up, 500,000 people or more defend their lives with a gun every year. The mass shootings are terrible, But at the end of the day, I think to fix this problem, you stop sending kids home with homework. That's my answer. Because if you don't send, wait, let me finish. Let me finish.
Amen.
To stop gun violence, you have to eliminate homework. Because if you eliminate the homework, you can spend more time with your kids for those extra 4 hours before they have to go to bed. And if you know what's going on with your kid, you won't become a psychopath later. That's my answer.
You know what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm with that. I'm for the kids.
You didn't know where that was going, huh?
Abolish homework. Get rid of homework.
You
Spend
get
more
rid
time
of
with your
homework.
kids.
Yep.
Figure them out. Spend more time. Nurse their bodies. Nurse their souls. Train them right.
Ask them what's going on. Is everything good? What's going on with you? I notice you're a little down lately. Don't just let them go to their room and get on the internet and everyone hates me and blah, blah, blah. You do that, you stop a little psychopath from coming up in the world.
Damon,
that's all I got.
Really good. That was really good. All right, guys. Thank you so much. If you have any other information that you'd like to share, shoot it in the comments. We always want to see what we can engage with and incorporate into the next episode.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys hate me in the comments. I'm probably not going to read them. All right. See you guys on the next one. We're out.